Welcome to part 2 of Pitch Your Product at Tradefairs. In part 2, we focus on 3 more P's, that's product, pitch and process. I'm Ami Rabheru, an ex-retail buyer turned product strategist and retail business mentor, and I specialise in teaching productpreneurs the action steps to approach, pitch and sell into retailers. I'm thrilled to be bringing you this 2-part series in collaboration with Top Drawer, Harrogate Home and Gift, the Manchester Furniture Show and Retail Reveal. Through this 2-part series, I aim to empower you with the knowledge you need to help set you up for trade show success. So let's kick off with lesson 1, product. Let's start by placing ourselves in the buyer's shoes again. A retail buyer's job is to ensure that they have built a commercially balanced range, offering just the right amount of choice to their target customers. In order for you to create a balanced offer that will be attractive to these retailers for your stand at the show, your job is to step into the buyer's shoes and break down how the buyer is buying the product. And you can do this by getting out there and doing some research. In retail, a clear and concise product offering will be attractive to the customer, have clearly defined, exciting product statements, have a clear balance between what the core lines are versus the trend or seasonal offering, and it should enable the customer to trade up and down within the price architecture of the range, enabling them to clearly understand the value of the product between the different price points. You have to remember that buyers only have a finite amount of retail space and budget, so when they're making these crucial decisions, they are likely to be making some tough choices, and therefore to bring a new range of products in, it will be likely that they're replacing an existing product line or range. So arming yourself with the knowledge of how retail buyers buy their products and place their products in the marketplace, in the market that they're trading in, will help you to align your trade show offering with the sort of retailers that you want to be stocked in and with their goals and their values. The knowledge that you'll gain from taking the time to do this bit of research will give you the confidence to market your product, and it will make sure that you have meaningful conversations with the buyers at the show when you meet them. Of course, you can do this on the internet, but if you are looking to get your products into bricks and mortar store, nothing will beat you actually getting out there and going shopping. When you walk the stores, you get a feel for the customer experience and what the retailer is trying to achieve, and nothing will beat you actually being able to pick up the product for yourself, touch and feel the products and engage with them. When you are looking to do this exercise, just a top tip from me, you have to step out of your creative brand owner shoes and think like a retail buyer. Okay, so let's talk about some tips for taking product at the trade show. When you're putting your ranges together, less really is more. If you have a particularly large product assortment, don't be tempted to take absolutely everything. Instead, build carefully considered, concise product statements which make sense to your target market. Too much to look at and you could leave your visitors overwhelmed and confused. They already have a lot to see at the show, so what you want to show them should be attention-grabbing and memorable in a way that you should almost be telling them what they should be buying from you. Highlight your hero products and hero product statements. Hero products can mean different things to different businesses, so I'll give you some examples. So a hero product statement for you could be the one thing that you're known for. If you are known as a leader in your market for a particular product, then this could be good to lead with at a trade show and lead your marketing campaign with. A hero product could also be new seasonal product that you may want to highlight, and trade fairs are great opportunities to try something new, launch a new concept or a new product, and really it's the best place to get a market reaction. It could be your best-selling lines or your best-selling products, or even your core lines if that's important to your business. And it could even be something that you develop as a press piece. We used to do this a lot in retail, so something that has been especially created to draw people in or to get a market reaction of some sort. And it's not always necessarily a bestseller, funny enough. The other thing to consider are your sales drivers. So when buyers ask, what are your best sellers? They are asking because they are looking to you to provide some valuable intel on which they can base their own decisions on. Now, you don't have to memorize all of your numbers and figures. You're not on an episode of Dragon's Den, but you must absolutely be able to articulate why your customers love your products, and you should be able to show them what your core range or your bread and butter, if that's what you call it, what that range looks like for you. Blow your trumpet. A trade show is most definitely a time to blow your own trumpet, and it really isn't the time to shy away from talking about all of your successes. So make sure that through your marketing and through your messaging and through the conversations, you're shouting about any awards, any PR, any influencer campaigns, or any kind of social proof that you may have collected along the way. Buyers love this because it shows them that you're making an effort to grow your brand and its awareness, and it kind of makes your proposition look even more commercial for them. Don't forget the good old features and benefits. Talk about what's really great about your product, the benefits and key features in a way that comes naturally and feels like you're simply having a conversation with the buyers about what your customers absolutely love about your products. Brand founders are usually great at this actually, but if you are struggling a bit, then just dig deep and pull out that passion for product that you have when you're creating products for your customers. Yes, you are selling, but it will feel way more natural if you don't feel like you have to make it sound like a sales pitch every single time you have a conversation. Another great tip is, if you have someone helping you or a larger team of colleagues, create like a little product knowledge manual for each of your products or product ranges. So for each range you can, simple piece of paper, photograph it, highlight the key features and benefits, highlight any key messages and any pricing, lead time or order process information that you want to put on there. This way you can pass this manual on to your colleagues or your helpers at the show and use this as kind of a product training manual, so that you're all saying the same thing and singing from the same hymn sheet. It really will help you too. It means that you're not constantly being asked things or being waited on for when the stand gets busy for answers. Packaging is a really important element of retail marketing and can literally make or break getting your product into retailers. So do ensure that you are showing your retail packaging for both bricks and mortar and online stores if that differs. Retailers know that the design of a product's packaging influences the customer's purchasing decisions, and I know firsthand that packaging can make or break the sales of a great, perfectly commercial product. Great retail packaging is attractive to the customer, creates engagement, informs the customer quickly, and then all the practical things like protect and contain the product itself. And also for you as a brand experience for the customer is everything. And your branding has to portray a consistent message to the customer right through every touch point, and that includes your packaging as well. It goes without saying, make sure that your order processing, your lead times, your prices is to hand, because if the buyer sees something they like, that's likely to be the next conversation that they have with you. So if they are ready to go, you kind of want to be able to take their order at the show and be ready to have that conversation. I've got to mention planet. Responsible sourcing are not just buzzwords, but something that all retailers are making a commitment to and have been for a while, and the pandemic has accelerated that trend, and of course we've just had COP26. So something which consumers are being educated on more and more and are demanding more and more. The retailer will want to ensure that every business decision and operation it's involved in promotes ethical and environmental responsibility, and it's making efforts to operate in a more sustainable way. So as a brand, it's really important for you to be as transparent as you can, and you are able to show some sort of roadmap of where and how your products are sourced. That nicely brings me on to pitch. So in this section, we're going to be going through how to frame your pitch and create different variations of it for every scenario. The first thing to know is that the buyer is not some sort of alien being. They are human too, and the best way to nurture B2B relationships is to build rapport with them. And the best way to do that is to be yourself, be natural, be inviting. I do caveat that a little bit though with speaking is selling. So let's delve a little deeper and talk about what you might say to buyers when they walk on to your stand, so the pitch. You're not on an episode of Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, but I do want you to think about the last time someone asked you to tell them about your business. Did you have a good answer for that? Like a really good answer? Did it come out well? Was it well articulated? Did you say it with confidence? Tell me about yourself, tell me about your business, tell me about that product are all seemingly such simple questions, yet they're so complicated in our heads, aren't they? Just as I say this aloud, I cringe because of all the memories of myself answering that question over my career, at interviews, even as a business owner, has got me tongue-tied so many times. And if you've ever felt the same or have had complete brain freeze, or maybe you've started off really well and then ended up with something that just sounded a little bit awkward and not very well articulated in the end, the number one thing that you must do is make sure that you finesse your pitch so that you don't have those awkward moments and everything you say comes out with ease, sounds authoritative and oozes confidence, and just helps that conversation flow. It will also help your own confidence as well. So you should start by creating a sort of average 30-second pitch, for example, and once you have finessed your pitch, you can go about creating a shorter one, like a 5 or 10-second version, or even a longer version as well. So so it can serve you in different scenarios. So for example, if you're having a busy period, you'll want a more punchy version of it. And if you find yourself having a longer conversation, you'll want more up your sleeves. The goal of your elevator pitch is really to grab their attention quickly, break the ice and get conversation started to spark the right questions. And you really do want them to ask questions, because if they are asking questions, you should be able to read between the lines and understand what their objections are likely to be, and that will help you to pull things that you may have up your sleeve to persuade them to hold their attention and to stay with you. So in summary, my top tips for creating the perfect pitch are to introduce yourself, make it personable, be yourself. Don't ramble or give more information than is necessary. Always leave your audience wanting more. Avoid lots of big word and technical jargon in your pitch. Keep it simple and effective and not overly practiced. Remember, you're just inviting a conversation. Don't be too pushy. No one likes to feel pressured. They just want to get to know you and understand what you can do for them in the first conversation. And the purpose of the first conversation really is to get yourself a second one. That's all. Add some credibility or social proof to your pitch. Buyers love hearing about results because they are commercial people. So make sure that you throw in a bit of that into your opening pitch, like your accomplishments, any awards, industry recognition that your product may have received, any particular piece of PR, anything that's particularly innovative about your product over your competition. Get your brand values and USP of your products in there too. If they have similar values, then it will make it more interesting to them. Keeping your stand tidy. It's more difficult when you have a smaller stand, I know, but I have seen some really great creative solutions like, pretty sort of stackable boxes in a corner that double up as props and storage, and I've even seen a couple of really small stands have some sort of ottoman seating, which again doubles up as storage. So get your creative heads on and see what you can do to sort of hide your handbag and bits and pieces and paperwork. Don't try to force people onto your stand with gimmicky market trader tactics. That's all I'm going to say about that. Whilst it's just as important for you to qualify visitors on your stand, don't judge a book by its cover. Even if they aren't the right buyer, or you don't feel like they're the right buyer for your products, you never know who they know, and you never know who they might recommend you to. It's a small world, and networking is the key to growing a successful business. So you just never know. So make sure that you've got your sort of networking head on as well. Ensure that everyone on the stand is knowledgeable about the brand and product so that you can seamlessly work together. There's nothing worse than making a buyer feel that they are talking to the wrong person who can't answer their questions properly. You will definitely need a few different versions of your pitch for the different scenarios as we discussed. And don't forget, practice makes perfect. The more you do these things, the better you will get at doing them. Okay, and a final important note for you. I just wanted to talk to you about how important it is to qualify your leads. Something that brand founders who are just starting out in wholesale tend to overlook. But you've got to remember that this is a two-way conversation. So what do I mean by that? This conversation is just as much about you qualifying the retail buyer and the retailer and their intentions as about them qualifying you as a supplier. It's never a one-way street, so make sure that you are asking questions so that you can build a picture of what they might be looking for, what's motivated them to come and see you, what they think you do, what they think you can do for them, what they like about your products, where they think that they could fit in. If you don't ask questions back, all you'll be doing is trying to appease them. And no matter who they are, you mustn't go down this rabbit hole, because every business opportunity you come across has to also be right for you too. I will caveat that with saying that you are not interviewing them. It's got to be conversational, and you will want to keep an open mind, and you don't want to dive straight into questions that may actually just put them off. You've got to judge how the conversations are flowing and drop questions in as they seem appropriate. So this is something else that you should spend a little bit of time on, as well as your pitch. Take the time to write down a few simple questions that you could also ask buyers that will help you to qualify them if the opportunity arises in the conversation. Okay, the final P, process. Hopefully you will have collected lots of prospects from the show. Now is the time to follow up with them. If you don't have a follow-up process, develop a follow-up process to give you a framework for each type of lead that you collect. Make sure that within a week at least everyone has an email from you thanking them for their interest and stopping by your stand, and send them a link. Make sure you send them a link to your brochure and line sheet just to remind them of who you are, because they may, even if you've had a great conversation on the stand, they may well forget. If they have specifically asked for any information or quotes, whatever they've asked for, then make sure that you also include this in that first email. If you have hundreds of leads to get in touch with, just prioritize them and get in touch with the most highly qualified buyer first, of course. And if you have a CRM platform, then add them to this and start nurturing them. Now that you have had a first conversation with them, you'll want to get a second conversation and a face-to-face meeting, ideally, to enable you to delve a little bit deeper and have a more meaningful conversation about the prospect of you supplying your products to the retailer. Depending on the size of the retailer, it can be a fairly quick or a fairly long, drawn-out process, and that's just the nature of working with retailers, so you mustn't give up in any scenario. Remember, they will have just spent time out of their busy schedule at the trade show, and if they are, if they're back at the office or back at the shop on a Monday, they may just have different priorities. So whatever your business follow-up process looks like, inevitably there will be an email involved and likely a telephone call involved. So I thought it would be useful for you if I just gave you some tips on what that first email could look like. So your first email after the show. A short, intriguing, relevant subject line. Include your company name or something that's memorable with your products. Don't be tempted to put something generic like follow up from the fair. Everyone else will use that and it probably won't get opened as quickly as something interesting. Use the buyer's name now that you have it to make it more personal, so it doesn't look like a standard email from your CRM. Thank them for stopping by your stand and remind them of any conversation that you had. It will help jog their memory and it will also make it look like that you've made an effort. Again, you don't want it to look like a standard follow-up letter. Don't forget to include your short elevator pitch as well. Again, it's to jog their memory as they would have seen a lot at the show and to help you keep brand consistency throughout the buyer's journey with you as well. They will have heard it at the show, but there is no harm in telling them again. It will remind them of what attracted them to you in the first place. Always have some sort of call to action, whether it be asking for a meeting or that you will follow up in a week or that you'll send in samples and then let's set a date for a follow-up. Whatever it may be, just make sure that you're always leaving a call to action to follow up. Attach a link to your sales brochure and line sheets. Again, no large attachments. It could get lost along the way, and if it's going to be a large attachment and difficult to open, they might not open it. And that's it, really. Again, don't be tempted to make this long-winded. If the prospect is highly qualified and showed lots of interest, then the goal of this email really is to get a face-to-face meeting. And if they were perhaps less interested or they told you that their timelines were longer, then your aim would be really to get more information about when they will be ready so that you could continue to nurture them in the meantime. Okay, just a few tips for a telephone call. It can be just as effective actually as part of your follow-up process to pick up the phone, but it can also be nerve-wracking. So here are some tips for the phone call. If they are bigger retailers, don't call them on a Monday. It's trade day for them. It's a big day where they will spend most of the day looking at the previous week's figures and taking action from what the numbers are telling them. In fact, I'd probably avoid Tuesday as well, as if the buyers had a bad Monday, then the hangover from the previous week's trade may continue into the middle of the week. If they are independent retailers, then actually on the contrary, I've spoken to a lot that actually quite like Monday or Tuesday because it's likely to be quiet for them. I still wouldn't do first thing on a Monday because they might be unpacking, taking stock, they may have a routine, but I would wait till the afternoon or Tuesday morning. Just like in the tips for sending an email, you will want to tell them why you're calling them and just remind them. Just a quick introduction again. I'm Amy of XYZ Company. We met at the show. Thank you very much for your interest in the products A, B and C. I'm calling you to have a quick follow-up. Is this a good time for you? And it may well not be because it's a cold call. So if it isn't, never leave the ball in their court. Always end with some sort of call to action whereby you are arranging a suitable time and date for a call that's mutually okay for both of you, and that way they'll be expecting you and you are likely to have their full attention. Remember, the goal of this is to get yourself a face-to-face meeting, not to take a purchase order over the phone. It may well happen if it's a small retailer, but it's unlikely to happen if they are a bigger retailer. But really what you want is a meeting so that you can have their full attention in a setting where you can understand what they really need, start building that relationship with them. It now becomes your job to entice them to the next stage of the journey, which is another conversation and hopefully a meeting, and that's all. If it becomes a long process to get the buyer's attention, then do switch up your follow-up process from email to phone call, and maybe not every email starts with a "I'm just following up," but you throw in some emails, some nurturing emails in there that may be talking to them about your, hero products, or you might be wanting to highlight a bestseller. It keeps you on their radar and is less likely to be annoying, especially if they are not ready yet. A lot of brands get deflated when the buyer who was seemingly very interested at the show doesn't reply or commit to a meeting straight away. And in reality, this could be quite a long process for a lot of retailers. These buyers go back to busy day jobs, and at the end of the day, they will have to always prioritise what's important now, and sometimes following up with a new supplier that they have in mind for the next season, which they're not working on yet, or they might not be buying for that season yet, might not be a priority for them. So the best thing you can do in this scenario is keep in touch, keep sending them updates, nurturing emails, exciting snapshots of your product updates or new launches, PR campaigns. All of this will help you to keep them at the forefront of their minds, basically. Persistency will pay off in the end. In my opinion, unless the answer is no, or don't call me, I'll call you when I'm ready, I'd continue to keep in touch with them. Do send them, emails, and keep nurturing them through the process. So a final thought to leave you with is, just like how we started in part 1 at the beginning of the series with plan, make sure that you evaluate the show whilst it's still fresh in your mind, so that you can capture the lessons learned for the next show. That brings me to the end of this 2-part series. I really do hope that the tips have helped you. Any questions, do feel free to email me, amy@theretailbusinesshub.com. You can find me on socials at The Retail Business Hub and on LinkedIn at Ami Rabheru. And if you want to learn more about what it really takes to approach, pitch and sell into retailers, you can download my free guide, Pitch Your Product, and you'll find that on my website at theretailbusinesshub.com/pitch-your-product.